Pretty much everyone has a cell phone nowadays, so I wanted to make this video to show how you can make your cell phone footage instantly cinematic using these tips. So there's kind of a myth going on out there that says that you need the biggest and best camera to make cinematic footage or to make a cinematic video for YouTube, and it really just isn't the case. And so I wanted to show you how I was able to make a cinematic video just in my house. I brought a friend over and it was just in the kitchen making an egg. And so just using the cell phone, there wasn't any stabilizers, no big rigs or anything like that, just the kitchen, some lighting, and cell phone. A lot of people have been talking about the new iPhone 10 or maybe iPhone X, whatever it is that you call it. It caught my eye since a lot of the footage I've seen is great. And so this is what I use. I went out and got the new iPhone 10. And full disclosure, this is not sponsored in any way. But that being said, you don't need the best iPhone out there or the best Android out there. You can use just whatever you've got and just follow some of these tips and tricks, and you can get great footage and create a great video and a cinematic video as well. But first, let's quickly take a look at the video that we shot, all again with the iPhone. So again, this was just filmed with the iPhone. There was no cameras other than that. It was just the iPhone in the kitchen with some eggs and my buddy Desi. But let's just get right into the tips and tricks. First and foremost, making sure that your entire video is shot in manual is really key. That way you just get to have control of your entire shoot. And so when you're using a camera or you're using a big budget camera, you have that ability. So in order to do that with your phone, you have to download an app. One app I would recommend is Filmic Pro, and that way you can just manually expose, you can change your shutter speed and all that good stuff, just to have the best amount of, or the most amount of control when you are filming. When you do film, to get that real cinematic look, filming in 24 frames per second is always best. So, tip number one, a lot of times people just use static shots, and while those are effective in certain situations, I find that adding motion to your video really adds a cinematic quality to it. So again, I didn't use a stabilizer, I just made sure that my hands were really still, but just adding slight motion to each one of the shots really added this cinematic effect to it. Now another trick that you can do, just in case your hands were a little bit shaky, I edit on Adobe Premiere CC, and you can use Warp Stabilizer to just smooth out a little bit of that shakiness, and so that's what I've added to a couple of these shots, but for the most part, it's just handheld and really made sure to hold my hands really steady as I got those shots, adding just a little bit of motion to add a little bit more to the video. So tip number two, using slow motion. I love using slow motion. I gotta make sure not to overdo it all the time, but I think slow motion can really showcase certain details and really grab the attention of the viewer. And so I recommend using slow motion in your video. Number three, make sure to use different or creative angles and add depth to your shot. So having objects closer to the camera, just because cell phones usually don't have the greatest depth of field, having something closer to the camera where the subject is a little further away that you're focusing on really adds in that cinematic look, having that depth of field. But also those creative angles kind of keeps your viewer's attention. It keeps them engaged with your video. And so having those different angles also helps tell your story or help give a certain feel or mood to what you're trying to show. I would also throw out a little bit of caution. Try to make sure that, you know, all of your shots aren't these really weird, crazy angles, because sometimes that can also be really distracting for the viewer. So you want to make sure that each camera angle that you use is used to your benefit and to the benefit of the story of what you're trying to tell to enhance that story. So number 4 is to color correct and also to color grade. So I won't be going into exactly how I color grade or anything like that. I didn't want to make this video too long. So just for now, I'll leave it at making sure that you always color correct first and making sure that all your shots match. They're the same temperature, you know, they're not overexposed or underexposed, and they all flow together nicely. And then adding in, maybe you're using a LUT or you're color grading yourself manually, but color grading can really enhance, again, that story and really bring a certain kind of mood to what you're trying to share and really create an atmosphere as well. So number 5, really quickly adding in those anamorphic crop lines or adding in those black bars really, again, brings that cinematic feel. I do this, it's really easy, of just adding in on Premiere color bars and then just dragging the bars up and down at the desired heights. And I do this just by turning on the safe margins and just moving the black bars up and down to the safe margins, and it's pretty much at the right spots for getting that real cinematic or getting that anamorphic crop line look. Last but not least, adding in sound effects and adding in music. I think both of these things are so important. Sound effects especially can just really draw in your viewer and make them feel like they're actually there. You always want to make sure that the sound effects are there to add to the experience, but you don't want to overdo it by adding in sound effects that are too loud or maybe too sharp, but something that, again, just makes you feel like you're really there. As for the music, one thing that's often overlooked is making sure that you're cutting to the music. So you don't just find a track you really like and then toss it in and leave it at that. It's something that I find automatically kind of shows that it's an amateur video. And so making it really cinematic, you can add the transitions, add your cuts to the beat or to the flow of the music. And again, it's something that the viewer doesn't even notice, and it just flows right through your video and really enhances that feel as well. So as you watch this video that I put together, I made sure that there is especially certain scenes where, you know, the yoke drops right on the beat, and so it just gives that extra cinematic feel to the video. Thanks again for checking out the video. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more travel videos, tips and tricks. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that I missed that you think really adds to a cinematic feel of a video. And let me know too if there's any tutorials that you'd like me to put out that I haven't put out already. Thanks again for checking it out, and I will see you guys on the next video.